Welcome to Hood Champion Boxing Sports. In boxing, you find a way to win, find a way to lose. Also in boxing, you find yourself in a situation as a boxing fan where you're not really able to make sense of some of the decisions being made by our favorite fighters. Now, with all the back and forth about Terence Crawford and him not wanting to fight Earl Spence at 154 and the fact that he's pushing the envelope for the fight to take place at 147. Now, those are the rumors. Haven't heard Earl Spence tweet anything about it. Haven't heard Crawford say anything about it. But what we do know is there are a lot of people who are in fighters' training camps who are associated with their immediate circles, where they get bits and pieces of information and it gets leaked to the public. Now, again, I'm going to take everything with a grain of salt. But what we do on this channel is have conversations. And I think it's healthy. Now, my thing is this, right? If it's true, okay, that Terence Crawford, for some reason, doesn't want to fight Spence at 154, he's pushing for the fight at 147 or whatever weight other than 154, right? Makes you ask the question, why is he so eager to bubble up to 168 and fight someone like Canelo? Why is he so eager to bubble up and fight someone like Charlo at 154 or 168? Now, some people are quick to jump in, try to answer those questions. And of course, the majority of the answers are, well, he's willing to move up in weight because of the money, because of the opponent. Now, to that I got to say, let's hold our horses and not take it to the stupid. Now, the thing is this. It's no secret that anyone who fights Canelo Alvarez more than likely is going to get the highest payday, okay? So we could understand that, but at the same time, just how much more money is he going to make fighting someone like Canelo opposed to fighting Earl Spence in a rematch? You see, that's the question. What is it? Because to me, it's way more risk going up to 168 fighting someone like Canelo than it is to fight Earl Spence at 154. But what is it, if it's true that Crawford really wants to fight Spence in a rematch at 147, what is it about the fight that's precluding him from wanting to push the fight to 154? And just like I said in other videos, just kind of make the playing field a bit more level, bit more even, bit more level, and let's just see how the cards fall. Because it does not make sense when you look at it from the standpoint of Crawford fighting Spence at 154. What's the risk of him losing? Him fighting Canelo at 168, what's the risk of him losing? It's an extremely high risk of him losing to Canelo at 168. Spence at 154, I think minimum risk. But nonetheless, the pay, I think there's some good money to fight Canelo at 168, but I'm not so sure it's going to be more. I don't think Crawford's going to make more than 20, 25 million. Okay, when he fought Spence, he made like 20, 25 million. Spence, I think, maybe like closer to like 30, maybe a little bit more. But what I'm getting at is maybe it's legacy he's after. You know what I'm saying? That's the only thing it could be to me. Because he's already two-time undisputed. So maybe that's his way of saying, you know what, let me get Spence out the way of this rematch to open things up so I can go do something different. Now, I'm going to tell you, I don't think Crawford gets a crack at Canelo anytime soon anyway. Or this next guy, who he said he'll even fight him at 154, Charlo. Because Charlo and Canelo, they're busy. And who knows what's going to happen in that fight. You know, it's a little sad that so many people are counting Charlo out. I'm not counting him out. Jermell Charlo can fight. He can crack. He's a beast, but so is Canelo. But I understand when people say, hey, I think it's a good fight. We just have to see who can make the right adjustments, but I favor Canelo. I can handle that. What I can't handle is, oh, Jermell Charlo gonna get killed. First round. He doesn't stand a chance. Canelo's gonna destroy him. Oh man, he's already lost the fight. Let me tell y'all something. The best fighter doesn't always win the fight. It's the boxer who fights the best on that night. And you can't tell me Jermell Charlo hasn't got in the ring and showed separation on fight night and showed that he was the boxer who fought the best in several instances. Now that being said, if somehow Jermell beats Canelo and becomes undisputed at 168, this is the problem for Crawford. Jermell and Canelo will probably rematch. So what does Bud Crawford do? If he doesn't want to fight Spence at 147, if Canelo and Charlo fight and Charlo happens to win, Crawford has to fight somebody. Okay, even if Canelo wins. I mean, if Charlo still has those belts, except for one, the WBO, he comes down to 154. And then now you got Jermell Charlo, who has mandatories he's got to deal with. You see? And Terence Crawford, I just don't see him, now that he doesn't have that WBO strap. Well, he won't have it after he fights Canelo. I don't see him getting up. I don't see Terence Crawford being the priority for the IBF, for the WBC, or the WBA to fight Jermell Charlo. What's going to happen if Jermell Charlo was to lose and comes back down to 154? He's going to have to defend the 3 belts he has, which what I think is going to happen is they're going to look to have him go into an undisputed distinction with Tim Tszyu. So it's like, okay, we're going to take your belt, but when you come down, you just fight for it anyway. So either way it goes, Terence Crawford gets sidelined. Now, I'm not making this up. Now, don't get me wrong. I know how politics work, secret society. But outside of Earl Spence, there's really nowhere to go for Terence Crawford in the immediate future. Conversely, outside of Terence Crawford, there's nowhere for Earl Spence to go in the immediate future because Earl Spence is looking to go to 154. If for some reason he does not fight Crawford, what's Earl Spence going to do? Go to 154 and fight who? Now I'm talking about to go and make that 20, 25, 30 million again. Where is Earl Spence going to go? There's no one out there Earl Spence could fight that could pay him the kind of money he would get paid fighting Terence Crawford in a rematch. So if you ask me, okay, Terence Crawford, how come he's willing to fight Charlo at 154, Canelo at 168, but not Spence at 147? First, I want to make sure that I say this. This is me. This ain't even Hood Champion, the character. This is me, the person talking. I think that's wrong on all levels. I understand a lot of the fans out there feel Terence Crawford doesn't owe Earl Spence anything. But let me tell you something called character and having values. The man gave him an opportunity. He should give him an opportunity at 154. Just how I see it. But, at the same time, for Crawford and Spence, if that fight doesn't happen, where are they going to go? You know what I'm saying? What are they going to do? But I truly think Crawford's sitting there playing hardball now because maybe he's like, you know what? I need to make sure that I have all the advantages again. But it just doesn't sound like Crawford's that kind of person to do that. But if for some reason it goes that direction, maybe he's looking at it from a business standpoint now. And he's like, okay, it is what it is. But he just doesn't strike. I just, the way, the rapport that they formed going into that first fight, I can't see Crawford now, who's been so grateful to Spence for willing to budge on some things to make the fight. I can't see Crawford drawing the line in the sand and saying, nah, this is all business, nothing personal. I can't see that. Crawford is a prideful person. He's not stupid now, but he's prideful. There's no way in the world Crawford's going to sit there and try to make the fight at 147 again. He's going to be like, you know what, we fight at whatever weight. Those are Crawford's words. So I truly believe this fight could come off at 154, and I hope it does. But if for some reason it doesn't, I don't think it's going to be Terence Crawford's call. I think it's going to be some of those key decision makers behind the scenes that force it. But nonetheless, rest assured, people, there's someone over there associated with Terence Crawford, right? If it's true now, who's saying to themselves, you know what, Earl Spence, if he wants to make, whatever, 20 million, 25 million, Crawford should make more this fight. He should, but it just depends on how the contract's written. I haven't seen it. But they're probably saying, you know what, if Earl Spence really wants to make this fight, if he wants to make that money, he's going to accept whatever that you offer him, because Earl Spence is about his money. Two things that Earl Spence focus outside of his family is, one, not getting down to 147. Two, is that money. But he did say on All Access, he will sacrifice and he will get down to 147 because of the type of money that he's making. Although he doesn't want to do it, he'll do it because he's looking at the big picture and being able to take care of his family. And I'm going to tell y'all right now, I'm like 250. The best weight for me is probably about 205. You know what I'm saying? And I tell you what, some days I'm not as focused as I should be. We're trying to get back down to 205, but man, it ain't easy. Your body changes, metabolism changes. Got a bunch of kids in the house, you know what I mean? So whatever their food they don't eat, I'm eating it, you know what I'm saying? So it's hard to get back down to 205. But I'll tell you what, let somebody talk about some 20, 25 million. Man, I'll be down to 205 within 4 months, because it just takes some dedication. But that's the carrot being dangled in front of Earl Spence, if it's true about Crawford and the weight. But again, for people out there who are saying it doesn't make sense for Crawford to be willing to fight Charlo at 154, Canelo at 168, but not Spence at 147, I'm going to tell you, I agree with you. But I also feel that there's a whole lot of money for Canelo. I think there's some good money for Charlo if Charlo beats Tim Tszyu to become undisputed a second time and Crawford bubbles up. But I'm just not sure Crawford's going to hold those belts long enough. But he may. We just have to wait and see how it goes, because I'm telling you what, maybe Crawford retires, you know what I'm saying? I tell you what, if he fights Spence a second time, Crawford can retire now, but he can really retire. Another, let's say on a conservative estimate, 20, 25 million on top of what he just made, plus what he already has, and all of his, the intelligent things that he's done with investments and stuff like that. I like to hear these guys share that, because there's so many young people who admire these fighters, and I'd like to hear them talk about things they're doing to have forever money and change the next generation. That's positive. Some of these shallow-minded people who come onto the channel and talk about commerce, they talk about pocket watching and stuff. That's just bandwagonist talk. That's not original. That's something they heard somebody else say. Oh, you're pocket watching. You sound stupid when you sit there and talk like that. we should be talking about those things that these fighters are doing and how they're being intelligent with their investments and the stuff they're doing. We can't just sit here and talk about the guys who go broke. Like people want to make fun of Adrian Broner. Why can't we talk about the smart things people are doing? Since we want to sit here and talk about pocket watching, how about this? Adrian Broner. Remember he was flushing all that money down the toilet? You seen that video? How about this if Adrian Broner, with all the millions that this man made, how about if he would have took that money and just leveraged it across, let's just say 100 homes 10 years ago, 5 years ago. Look at the space he's in right now. But everybody want to talk about the negative about Adrian Broner. But if he had done something positive, where would he be? Maybe there were a lot of young people who kind of watched the way Adrian Broner's moving and was motivated and inspired by Adrian Broner to go out there and be a fool and spend all their money on depreciating assets and have nothing. Terence Crawford's doing it right. Earl Spence is doing it right. Danny Garcia's doing it right. Deontay Wilder's doing it right. Anthony Joshua's doing it right. There's a lot of these fighters that are out here doing it right. And we should talk about it. And if they were able to take their money and 10 times it with making, like Floyd Mayweather says, smart investments, he's another one. We should talk about that. That's not pocket watching. That's calling it's a healthy dialogue. But that being said, I think Terence Crawford is in a good space financially and could be in an even better space because he wants to retire and make the most money possible. And he said that. And he also said, F everybody. That's what he said. F-U-C-K to everyone who's going to have an issue with what he decides to do with his career and who he chooses to fight and who he chooses not to fight. He feels that he's earned the right to do what he wants. And I don't disagree with him. But I do think he may end up taking, I think he's going to end up fighting Keith Thurman. That's just me, but hey, I could be wrong. People keep talking about Keith, you don't know what you're talking about. Keith Thurman's inactive. I know that rocket scientist. I know he's inactive. But if Crawford's really after big money, I'll put it to you this way. If he can't get Spence for whatever reason, right? If Jamel and Canelo are busy, right? And Crawford decides he doesn't want to retire, he wants a huge payday, who can he fight? If not Tim Tszyu, right? Because in Australia, I think they'll pay good money, but some people don't think he'll fight him. I think he'll fight whoever's going to generate the most money. But outside of going down to Australia and fighting a guy like Tim Tszyu for that WBO strap, right? Who's next after Tim Tszyu? No Canelo, no Charlo, no Tim Tszyu. Who's next where he can make the most money? I think Keith Thurman still has some marketability and some extreme market value to where I think Crawford can get a decent payday. But the big paydays, of course, will first be Canelo, probably that Spence rematch. And then I think he may make more money fighting Tim Tszyu in Australia than fighting Jamel Charlo. Canelo's last fight, Canelo made 35, 40 million plus. Charlo had a $1 million guarantee, but ended up making $3.5 million at the end of the night. Tim Tszyu's over there making like $8, $9 million. So understand what it's going to look like if Crawford goes to fight in Australia. Tim Tszyu making $8 and $9 million, and then now Crawford decides to go over there and fight. You think the money's not going to be there for Crawford to make like 20, 22 million? So all I'm saying is Terence Crawford needs to figure out what he's doing. Because the people want to know, why in the world won't you fight Spence at 147 if the rumors are true, but you fight Charlo at 154, Canelo at 168? If it's money, hell, you make more money fighting Spence in a rematch than fighting Charlo at 154. So what really is the issue? That being said, y'all keep cool. Shout out to the veterans, all 7 continents. In the breeze.